Hi everyone, today we're going to take up this recent incident of Ryanair hijack. So on the 23rd of May, Ryan Airways is an island-based airlines. Flight number 4978 was flying from Athens, which is the capital of Greece, to Vilnius, which is the capital of Lithuania. And uh, while it was in the Belarusian airspace about to enter Lithuania, the flight was intercepted by a MiG-29 sent by Belarus, and it was force landed at Minsk. Right? Um, Important people here: Roman Postovich and his Russian girlfriend. They were deboarded and arrested, and the person behind this was a dictator of Belarus by the name of Alexander Lukashenko. Right? Just a bit about Belarus. Belarus is a landlocked country. It was earlier part of USSR, and so to its north you have Latvia, which is a Baltic state, and Lithuania, which is again a Baltic state, and you have Estonia. Estonia doesn't share its border with Belarus. So you have Latvia, Estonia somewhere here. This is Estonia, right? Poland to its west, to its south you have Ukraine, and to its right is Russia, right? So it's a landlocked country. A bit more about the background. So Roman Prostovich was is a Belarusian journalist and an activist, and he was a founder of this channel called Nexta, right? And this channel earlier was a music channel, and then it started galvanizing support, uh, against the rigging of elections that happened last year, the presidential elections that happened in Belarus last year. All right. Now, why has this incident been condemned? Why is it all over the newspaper? Uh, Major journals, major newspapers have carried this, like the Newsweek and the Economist. So why is it wrong? It is wrong because it is against the Chicago Convention, Article 3 and 4. Now, what does it say? It says that use of weapons against civil aircraft in flight, and in case of interception, lives of person on board and safety of aircraft must not be endangered. Now, in this case, a MiG-29 was sent, right? And the flight, which was closer to Vilnius, capital of Lithuania, it was force landed at Minsk, right? So it did put the lives of people, at risk. Secondly, each contracting state agrees not to use civil aviation for any purpose inconsistent with the aims of this convention. Here, what was the purpose? The flight was flying from one country to another country, and a third country, right, uses this opportunity that just because it was in its airspace, right, the flight is force landed for you know uh, deboarding and arresting um, people that they don't like. I mean, so this is against the Chicago Convention. So, like you have the laws of the sea, similarly, you have laws of the air. So, for the laws of the air, we need to know the Chicago Convention, Article 3 and 4. So, it went against it, right? Now, what have the different countries done? So, it has been strongly condemned. The European Union, all the 27 countries have condemned it. The um, the the EU Commission has condemned it. The Americans have condemned it. The Britishers have condemned it. So this entire incident has been condemned by many nations, right? And countries like Ukraine, what they have done is they have banned the import of electricity from Belarus. In fact, after last year's rigging of election, many countries do not consider this government legitimate. For instance, the European Union, for instance, the United States of America, for instance, the Great Britain, right? So they don't consider this government legitimate. So they did have sanctions last year. Now they have put further sanctions on Belarus. So they're trying to choke the economy so that such incidents do not happen, and he is forced to release Roman Prostovich and his girlfriend, right? Also, the Belarusian Airlines, which is the state airlines of Belarus, has been banned from entering the Belarusian airspace, right? And uh, and yeah, and Russia and China, they are supporting Belarus, and in fact, the Russians have gone ahead and even said that this operation was beautifully orchestrated, right? Even the Chinese are supporting this particular action. So what we see here is, you know, it. Uh, it looks as if some power blocks have been formed. So you have Belarus, Russia, and China on one side, and then you have US, the European Union, uh, right, the Great Britain, the other side. So there is a formation of a power blocks. Now, what we need to learn from this incident are the following things. One is Roman Prostavich, who has been arrested. He's a Belarusian journalist and who was living in exile in Poland, right? Alexander Lukashenko, who is the dictator of Belarus. In fact, he became the president of Belarus. In fact, Belarus is a republic and now under a dictatorship, so-called, is ruled by a dictator. So it was a kind of rigged elections last year, and where he got some 83% vote. So Alexander Lukashenko has been ruling since 1994. So Belarus, USSR disintegrated in 1992. In 1994, Belarus became a republic. So what is republic? Where people vote. First elections, Lukashenko won the elections, and thereafter, there has been people have been talking about how elections are rigged in Belarus, right? Yes, European Union has got 27 countries. We need to know this, including the Baltic states. I showed you in the map: Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. We need to know about Ursula von der Leyen, who is the president of the European Commission, who has condemned this action. Swatilena, she was the main opposition leader last year, who just managed about 10% of votes, and uh, you know, and yeah, the elections were rigged. So that's the reason she got 10% vote. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, he has also condemned this attack. And we should know about the origin of Ryan Airways. It's an island-based company and airlines, and Believin Airways is state airways of uh, Belarus. All right. So just a brief idea about Roman Prostavich. He was born on 5th May 1995. He has studied journalism at Belarusian State University, but he was expelled because he was part of some activism there. He's been living in exile in Poland ever since. He's a former editor-in-chief of the Telegram channel called Nexta, and he was also the chief editor of the Telegram channel Belarusian of the Brain, right? So last year, what happened and why he was declared a terrorist? Because he galvanized support against the rigged elections that happened in Belarus last year, right? About Belarus. It's a former part of Soviet Union. The population is just about 94 lakhs. The currency is ruble. I've already given you a brief idea about the neighboring countries here. It's also called the land of lakes. There are 11,000 lakes in Belarus, a beautiful country. And 40% of people are employed by state. So there are a lot of state-run organizations. IT industry is quite popular there. In fact, a lot of gamings are invented in Belarus, and gaming apps. Manufacturing is quite popular there, especially they manufacture trucks, buses, and tractors and milk. Agriculture is about 8.3% of GDP, and the main trading partner is Russia, and that is why Russia has been bailing out Belarus. In fact, last year also, when sanctions were passed against them, then Belarus was uh, bailed out by Russia. Even now, Russia is uh, giving a lot of aid to Belarus because of the economic sanctions that the Western powers have, passed against Belarus. Uh, Now it comes really low in the order as far as Freedom House is concerned, which is a not-for-profits organization, because there is no independence of media, and any activism is, the government takes strict action, like we have seen in this case. In fact, last year, people who were there, who were part of the protest, protests last year, they were also arrested, right? The crime rate in Belarus is very low. The police is very, very active there. So that's about Belarus. And I've given a brief, you know, just an idea about the famous dictators because this topic was about Alexander Lukashenko the Great, who's a dictator in Belarus. Uh, One of the living dictators. There are many, uh, but the popular ones: Nazi Germany, Adolf Hitler. We from his early 30s to uh, till his death in 45, right, and led to World War II. Stalin, after Lenin in 24, took over in Russia, right? We know about the Mao's philosophy in China 17, right? Pol Pot, Cambodia, Ceausescu, Romania in the 70s. In fact, Alexander Lukashenko, the dictator of Belarus, is quite inspired by the Romanian dictator of the 70s, right? We all know about Kim Jong's. His father died in 2011, and North Korea. Now we know a lot about it. Till last year, there were secret meetings between him and President Trump, right? So there was news that they're building a nuclear bomb. So they were very unpredictable character. We all know about Saddam Hussein and Fidel Castro and Robert Mugabe. He's 96 years old, right? So these are the famous dictators. So just to give you an idea about uh, the popular dictators of this century. So that was it. This was Ryan Air Hijack.